All right, welcome to the deep dive.
Great to be here.
We are jumping into a really crucial topic today, super important for many people listening. And it's all based on, well, the stack of sources you generously shared with us, the articles, research papers, your own notes, actually, on male fertility.
Yeah, a really comprehensive set of materials.
Definitely. Now, when most of us think about male fertility, the usual things come to mind, right?
Standard panel, yeah.
Exactly. We think sperm count, how many are there? Motility, how well they swim.
And morphology, their shape.
Those are kind of the fundamentals, often checked first. But your sources, they guide us to look, well, a bit deeper, towards a critical, often overlooked piece of the puzzle.
It's easy to miss if you're only looking at those top-level numbers.
Okay, so let's unpack this, because the core concept from your material introduces sperm DNA fragmentation.
Right.
Think of it maybe not just as simple damage, but more like, I don't know, corrupted data, or broken links within that really crucial genetic software the sperm carries.
That's a good analogy.
Mm.
It's actual damage or breaks in the genetic material itself.
Okay.
And what's particularly insightful from your sources is why this isn't just some, technical detail buried in a lab report.
It's got real impact.
Exactly. This kind of damage, as the research you provided highlights, has real significant consequences.
Yeah.
They ripple through the entire fertility process.
Okay.
So our mission, really, in this deep dive is to understand the impact of this DNA damage.
Right.
And also to explore some of the potential supportive approaches discussed in those sources you gave us, particularly looking at acupuncture and herbal medicine.
Okay, so the sources lay out this sort of cascade of potential issues when that genetic blueprint is, well, corrupted. Where does it start going wrong?
Well, first off, as the sources point out, fragmented DNA can directly interfere with fertilization itself.
How so?
The sperm might physically get to the egg, sure, but the process of merging, of transferring that stable genetic information, it just doesn't work as effectively if the DNA is broken or damaged.
Okay, so step one can already be a hurdle?
A big one, potentially.
Even if fertilization does somehow happen, I guess the problems don't just disappear then, do they?
No, and that's a really critical point emphasized in the material you shared. Damaged DNA significantly increases the likelihood of issues during early embryo development. The sources suggest this sort of disrupted genetic instruction set makes it harder for the embryo cells to divide properly, to grow correctly in those vital first few days.
Which, sadly, I imagine can then lead to problems further down the line, like implantation failure.
Precisely, yeah. An embryo that's struggling to develop properly often just won't be able to successfully implant in the uterine wall.
Okay.
And perhaps one of the most, devastating consequences highlighted in the sources is the increased risk of miscarriage.
Right.
Embryos formed with fragmented sperm DNA, they just appear more vulnerable. They're more likely to result in early pregnancy loss.
Wow.
It really shifts the focus, doesn't it? From just getting pregnant to the quality and the viability of the resulting embryo.
Yeah, absolutely. This leads to what I found was one of the most counterintuitive points in your sources, especially when people look towards advanced reproductive technology.
Like IVF or ICSI.
Exactly. We have these amazing techniques like ICSI, intracytoplasmic sperm injection, where, a single sperm is injected right into the egg. It feels like that should bypass any male factor issues.
Logically, it seems like it should.
But your sources make this fascinating point. ICSI doesn't necessarily fix the problem of DNA fragmentation.
And this is such a crucial distinction the material underscores. While ICSI is incredibly effective at achieving fertilization, it guarantees the sperm gets inside the egg, it doesn't repair or, improve the quality of the genetic material within that sperm.
Okay, so the payload itself is still damaged.
Exactly. So if you inject a sperm with highly fragmented DNA, you might get a fertilized egg, sure, but you're still starting with a compromised genetic foundation.
And all those risks we just talked about.
They're still there. Those same risks for development issues, implantation failure, and miscarriage, they carry over.
So it really highlights that the quality of the payload matters immensely, regardless of the delivery method.
Absolutely. It just drives home the idea that focusing on the health and integrity of the sperm's DNA is essential.
Whether you're trying naturally or, using assisted reproduction.
Totally. It underscores the importance of addressing the foundation, the source material, so to speak. And this is where the sources you share transition. They start discussing potential supportive approaches, things that aim to improve sperm quality at a more fundamental level, starting with acupuncture.
Okay, acupuncture. That feels like a very different kind of approach compared to, say, lab-based diagnostics or procedures.
It is, yeah.
What do the sources suggest about how it might help with something as specific as DNA fragmentation?
Well, based on the material, the proposed mechanisms seem to be multifaceted. It's not just one thing.
Oh.
The key idea mentioned is the potential to improve microcirculation, particularly, blood flow to the reproductive organs.
And better blood flow means?
Better cellular health, basically, including in the testes where sperm are produced. So improved delivery of antioxidants, nutrients, oxygen, and also more efficient removal of waste products and toxins.
Okay, that makes sense. And we know from the sources that one of the major drivers of DNA damage in sperm is oxidative stress,
Right.
kind of like cellular wear and tear.
Exactly that. And the sources indicate that acupuncture may help modulate the body's response to that oxidative stress and also inflammation.
Creating a better environment for the sperm.
Yeah, essentially creating a cellular environment that is less damaging to developing sperm DNA. They also touch upon potential influences on hormonal balance and nerve signaling, all of which could indirectly contribute to healthier sperm production and potentially reduced fragmentation. The material often refers to, clinical observations and some preliminary studies suggesting men who undergo acupuncture might see improvements in various sperm parameters, including measures of DNA integrity.
Okay. And your sources also bring in herbal medicine as another potential supportive pathway. How does that connect? Is it similar?
Herbal medicine, particularly in the context of the sources you provided, is often presented as a very personalized approach. Specific formulas tailored to an individual's, let's say, presentation or constitution.
Right, not one size fits all.
Exactly. But the underlying mechanisms discussed for potentially reducing DNA fragmentation often overlap with what we just mentioned for acupuncture. There's a strong emphasis again on combating oxidative stress and inflammation.
So it's like offering internal support to help protect that DNA from damage as it's being made.
Precisely. That's a good way to put it. The sources discuss various herbs or herbal combinations known for their antioxidant or anti-inflammatory properties.
Okay.
And these are theorized to create a more favorable environment for spermatogenesis, that complex process of sperm production.
Makes sense.
And while, acknowledging that more large-scale research is always beneficial,
Of course.
the material suggests there is growing evidence, and certainly clinical experience, indicating that targeted herbal support, guided by experienced practitioners, can play a role in improving sperm quality, including that DNA component.
Okay. So stepping back a bit, what this deep dive into your sources really reveals is that sperm DNA fragmentation is, well, a significant factor in male fertility, maybe more impactful than is widely realized.
Absolutely. It goes beyond the simple numbers.
It's not just about getting sperm to the egg. It's fundamentally about the quality, the integrity of the genetic information being delivered.
And critically, the sources clarify that even advanced techniques like ICSI, while they're great at achieving fertilization, they don't fix this underlying DNA damage.
Right, which means those risks associated with fragmentation can persist.
Exactly. So the key takeaway, really, is that proactively addressing sperm DNA quality at the source seems crucial for optimizing the chances of creating a healthy, viable embryo.
Giving it the best possible start.
Precisely.
And the sources you provided open the door to looking at supportive options, like acupuncture and herbal medicine, as potential ways to help improve that sperm quality and reduce fragmentation by supporting the body's own natural processes.
Right. Presented as supportive, integrative methods that may help bolster quality and reduce fragmentation based on the material we examined today.
Okay.
Now, thinking about this, if understanding and supporting these fundamental building blocks like DNA integrity is so key, what does this perspective suggest about the future, maybe, of personalized fertility support? Does it point us towards looking beyond just single interventions, maybe more towards comprehensive, holistic approaches that really address the underlying cellular health?
That's a really interesting question.
It's definitely something to consider based on everything we've discussed from your sources, something maybe to mull over.
Absolutely. A really thought-provoking layer to add to our understanding of fertility. Well, thank you so much for providing these sources and joining us on this deep dive today.
My pleasure. It was a fascinating exploration.